Good afternoon. 506 now, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Always happy for your contributions.
I'm sick and tired of it. I didn't come here for second place. I didn't come here for more excuses. I didn't come here to have the Speaker of the House assume the position and in 17 days pass a continuing resolution off the floor of this House through suspension of the rules.
Things are getting hot in Congress this week in a whole bunch of ways, not just elbows to kidneys or threats to take it outside. That's Congressman Chip Roy on the House floor, upset about yet another can kick out of Congress. There is a new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and this week he did pass a two-part continuing resolution that would extend some funding through January 19th and other funding through February 2nd. The Speaker thinks that if he can break it up, he can prevent a gigantic omnibus spending package from being rammed through altogether. But whatever leash he might have is a short one. Conservatives in the House not happy that the same out-of-control spending has been extended yet again, and among them, the man you just heard from, Congressman Chip Roy. He represents Texas's 21st Congressional District and joins us on the phone. Congressman, good to have you with us, sir. Thank you.
Great to be on. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. And so the argument that I think that Speaker Johnson might make or may have even made is that, look, I just need to buy a little time for some more negotiating. You think that this has gone on long enough?
Yeah, look, I mean, let me just start with Mike is a friend. I have great respect for him. He's a good man. He's a good husband, good father. I think very highly of him. I just think that if you're going to continue to kick the can down the road, if you're going to continue the status quo, that's not good enough. And look, you know, when the analogy I use, and I'm not a military guy, but I mean, I have great respect and admiration for him. If you're storming the beaches in Normandy and our commanding officer goes down, somebody's, next man up. You don't sit around having a, study session and, honeymoon period trying to figure out what to do. Like, our country is burning down around us. We all ran for Congress. We all know what we want to do. We need leadership to do it. And I don't need a 5-point plan from all the frickin' wonks in town to tell me what to do. The fact of the matter is we need to reduce spending. We need to change the direction of this town. We need to secure the border. And I would have just sent something over to the Senate, nothing radical. I understand we can't demand that Schumer do everything we want to do, but you're not going to get crap if you don't force them by sending something over there and make them vote no, right? Send it back. Get in the ping pong. Oh, they'll shut it down. Let them go home for Thanksgiving. Let them sit around Thanksgiving tables and explain why they would shut the government down, because we sent them a bill that would have funded government, funded troops, funded Israel, but paid for some of that stuff and taken $30 billion out of the IRS and paid for the disaster spending in Israel. Send that over. That's not like earth-shattering, but we could have sent that over and forced their hand. And if they want to go explain a shutdown because they're unwilling to do that, then let them. But we can't just keep doing the same crap because we have the excuse of, oh, my God, if we have a shutdown, what will they say about us? Who cares?
Yeah. And the American people,
I don't care.
And the American people deserve to know what it is that Democrats and certainly some Republicans who are allied with them are trying to fund on a constant basis. So an obvious one to me, and it's probably not a huge item in the budget, but it's definitely detrimental to the country, is the amount of federal funding that goes to all of these NGOs that are involved in human trafficking illegal immigrants into our country. That one is an obvious one. That one's like, you look at that, you're like, that one's done. That one's not getting funded at all. We're not going to keep funding human trafficking.
And that's such a good point. I put my point exactly. You want to send over a CR? Fine. Could you send over a CR that at least cut what you just described? Okay, give me one thing, right? Send over a CR that guts the United Nations UNRWA program, which sends money to the Palestinians, which goes to Hamas, which goes to killing our Jewish friends and neighbors, right? Why wouldn't you at least just do that? Call their bluff on that. You guys are going to shut down the government because you want to fund Hamas? Go ahead. Explain that to the American people. These are the kinds of things that I don't understand. Like, there'd be like hundreds of those that we could put forward to say that why don't we at least just do that? That's my problem with the status quo crowd in this town. And again, let me give credit where it's due. Mike passed or had us move forward and pass an Israel bill that was paid for out of the IRS expansion. We sent that to the Senate. Senate conservatives last night moved a motion to proceed and filed cloture, forced their hand. They kind of grabbed the Senate floor. It was a beautiful thing.
Yes.
And they forced their vote. And guess what? Party line vote, they tabled it. So Democrats are siding with the IRS expansion in Ukraine over Israel and our national security interests. Good. Let the American people know that. We'll keep fighting them, and we can go try to get Israel funding. But let's send them over righteous bills and make Schumer choke on it.
Yeah, we had Senator Roger Marshall on yesterday, and apparently he was leading the effort yesterday to get that done in the Senate. It was a great move, and of course Democrats, failed to live up to the moment. They didn't want to fund Israel, and they don't want to chop back the IRS agents that are dedicated to taking down the middle class.
And they're so wed to Ukraine, they won't even stand up for Israel, and they'll use the IRS as an excuse. But it's really about Ukraine.
It's just amazing. It really is. So I will say, to the extent that the can gets kicked at all, and obviously you don't want it to, at least it's after the Christmas break, because I tell you, you've seen it, Congressman. When they make the spending deadline the very end of the year, that's when the worst possible outcomes occur, because nobody's paying attention. Everybody wants to go home, and the lobbyists get to write the whole damn thing.
No, that's exactly right. But a lot is being made of that. And the thing that I'd say to Mike on that with respect is, the easiest way for you to not have an omnibus before Christmas is just say no.
Right.
You're the Speaker of the House, my man. You're not a backbencher. You're not Chip Roy. You have the gavel. You just simply say that bill ain't going to be on the floor. So here's the deal. I'm going to give you a CR that does X, Y, Z. And if you shut the government down, you own that. Now, to your point, I'm glad they kicked it in January, and so we're not sitting here before Christmas with all that pressure. But guess what's going to happen in January? Oh, we're a few weeks before primaries. Oh, we're in the middle of presidential, Iowa, New Hampshire, and all the caucus stuff. Oh, what are we going to do? There's lots of pressure. Oh, no, Ukraine is bubbling up. Oh, have we funded Israel yet? There's always going to be an excuse. There's always going to be a pressure for why we can't shut the government down or why we can't use the levers the founders gave us of the power of the purse to force change.
Right. Now, what kind of leash is Speaker Johnson on then? I mean, right now he did kick it. You've expressed dissatisfaction. A lot of Republicans, by the way, a lot of conservatives voted against this continuing resolution yesterday. 93 Republicans were opposed. If we get to this moment again in January and then subsequently February and we see another can kick, what kind of conversation are we having about Speaker Mike Johnson?
Well, look, I don't view it in terms of length of leash. I have great admiration and respect for Mike. He's a good man. He's a good friend. He's conservative.
Sure.
And I expect him to step up now. He asked for time. I wouldn't have done it this way. I disagree with it, and I'm going to criticize it. But he asked for time. He's got time. And so his time now is he's got Thanksgiving weekend. He's got 10 days, to get through, come back in December. We need to set the terms of the fight and lay the groundwork for what we're going to do in January and see what happens. I don't believe, though, that he has a lot of room to cut bad deals going forward.
Yeah.
We need to stand up and pick a fight, and we got to win it. And I know we can't win everything we want,
right?
But dang it, we got to secure the border. Or dang it, we got to cut spending. Or dang it, we got to clear the decks on all this Ukraine nonsense. Or dang it, we got to stop some of this weaponized bureaucracy that's attacking the American people. We can do some or all of those things or pieces of them. I don't care. But set up a fight and let's go win it. That's the whole point.
Right. One of the challenges he has is that he has Republicans who disagree. If all the Republicans were on the same page, this would be easy. They'd be able to vote for all this stuff right away. So what will it take to bring pressure to bear on those Republicans who are gumming up the works?
Well, more focus by people to look at it. Why were there 127 Republicans who voted for this craptacular bill? And they shouldn't have done it, right? So you said it. We had 93 Republicans who voted no. We had 2 Democrats who voted no. Jayapal said it was a good deal. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez voted for it. Rashida Tlaib voted for it. I'm going to ask a question. If only 2 Democrats in this House of Representatives are voting against the bill, it probably wasn't a good bill. So I think we need to make sure that's clear to folks, highlight it, and then, put pressure on people to say, look, stay the course. Now, I'll say on the positive, I've been around this town longer than I care to acknowledge. Having 95 no votes is actually a pretty damn good accomplishment. Normally Republicans are all too happy to just go along with it. Look, we're trying to break the back of the appropriator, swamp, big spending establishment in this town. We're having success. Today, we took down a rule. That was a big deal. And we took down that rule because they put forward a closed rule. It was a failure theater with the CJS appropriations, which is the Department of Justice. We weren't going to get really good votes on defunding some of the prosecutions over DOJ, other things. And so, we're going to get votes, but they were going to kill them. And we knew they were. It was all failure theater. So we were able to kill that rule, and we sent a message that, guys, we're not going to dance unless we're going to do our job. And I hope we'll get more Republicans to agree. We're making progress. It's not as fast as I wish it was.
Obviously, as you said, Congressman Chip Roy, you are criticizing this decision to advance yet another, the same budget, once again, the Biden budget, once again into January and February. But if you could assess outside of that, and maybe including that, Speaker Johnson, are you optimistic about him? Do you think that he has the fortitude to withstand this job and lead the Republican conference in the right direction?
Well, I start with the premise that I said before,
Yes.
is that he's honest, he's a good man. He's been talking to us. He came to us on the floor, and he talked through a lot of the issues. I believe he wants to achieve the same things we want to achieve. I got to give him some time to go, work with the conference to try to move things in the right direction. But here's the one observation that I'll make. When Mike had no staff around him and was going from his gut, he listened to those of us kind of just saying, here are some ideas, and he made the play call to pass Israel with the IRS pay for. We've been getting a lot of positive feedback from the Senate saying, hey, this helps us to negotiate so things aren't on autopilot. That was a great move. It took some guts and some determination. That's the Mike that we need in the speaker's gavel, because once he started getting staff around him, once he started having the entire, swamp saying, Mike, you can't do this. We'll have a shutdown. This is what's going to happen. How will we get out of the shutdown? Then, in my opinion, he made the wrong decision. So be the Mike who was bold the Monday after you were elected speaker, and you will succeed. And that's my message to him.
Congressman, do you know what world of people, what orbit of people are now on his staff? Are these former McCarthy staffers? Who's got his ear?
It's a mix. He's got some of his existing staff, some people from that he's worked with when he was the head of the Republican Study Committee. There's a few other people floating around from McCarthy's world and others. A lot of people that I've worked with in the past, and they're good. Look, I'm a former staffer. My main point is not to criticize any particular staff. It's to say, follow your gut. Like, staffers supposed to give you some, here's some rough advice. You got to go lead. I had some today on the floor. One of the members said, well, wait, why was this closed rule on the floor? And some members said, well, the staff set it up that way. Like, are you out of your friggin' mind? Like, as a former staffer, I never would have done that. Like, the members make the play call. We're the ones with the election certificates. And we've got to grab the bull by the horns and actually start leading instead of letting the swamp creatures decide all this stuff. The appropriation staff who resist when I ask questions about all these slush funds and all these rescissions and all these so-called chimps that nobody in America understands what the hell they are, but they're how the appropriators grease the skids for massive spending. And I push back on that, and the appropriation staff says, no, we can't use those funding accounts. Why not? I'm the one with the election certificate. Who are you? Exactly. So we've got to change this town and break the back of this place. It's happening. And look, on the positive, we are winning. We're changing the way this place works. It just, it takes a while, and it's not happening as fast as the American people need it to happen.
All right, well, stay in the fight. Congressman Chip Roy, really appreciate your time today, sir, and your assessment of everything going on Capitol Hill. Thank you very much.
Hey, God bless. Happy Thanksgiving.
I have been saying that it makes sense that Speaker Johnson would have a little bit of a different deal, of course, than Kevin McCarthy. The reason McCarthy gets tossed is because he doesn't keep his obligation to get all these spending bills passed on time. But regardless of that, even if you do want to give him a little bit of space here to negotiate all of this, you need people like Chip Roy. You need to make this as uncomfortable as possible every time you do it. Every time. Because if you don't, then that's how you get screwed forever, right? Here's Chip Roy, a little bit more audio from him on the House floor.
One thing. I want my Republican colleagues to give me one thing, that I can go campaign on and say we did. One. Anybody sitting in the complex, if you want to come down to the floor and come explain to me one material, meaningful, significant thing the Republican majority has done besides, well, I guess it's not as bad as the Democrats.
There you go. Chip Roy standing up for what's right here. Hoke is in Round Hill, line 3. Hoke, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show. Hello, sir.
Hey, Vince. So, look, he's got a lot of good points, but he, at this point in time, would be the king of Pyrrhic victories. If you know what Pyrrhic victory is, it's basically a victory that the losses are so substantial that it's basically a defeat. Mm-hmm. We have to win in 24 or the country is lost. And, Speaker Johnson came in, 3-4 weeks ago. There's no way by the time this shutdown comes around, he had a chance to put together any spending bills. I'm fine with what he did. I don't really like the closed order and not getting something, but let's see what he does in January and February before we throw him to the wolves.
So you want to give him some space. Yeah, no, I think that's right. But like I said, I think that the value here is you've got to have somebody like Chip Roy standing up, though, and going, this is totally unacceptable, in order to just keep that ever-present pressure on not just Speaker Johnson, but all these Republicans, and saying, hey, this is not going to be easy for you. You're not gonna, a can kick is not going to be an easy experience. It's going to be painful.
I agree. One more thing, though. It's easy for Chip Roy to say when he goes back to where he's got 80% of the vote, no matter what.
Yeah, but this is good for the whole country. I mean, getting this thing under control, one of the most important things that these lawmakers could possibly do. And boy, do they avoid it like the plague. Thank you, Hoke. I appreciate the call, as always, sir. More of your calls in a moment, as well as some new revelations about Rashida Tlaib and her Facebook activities. Not exactly pro-America or peace or anything like that. Oh, boy. It is 5:35 here at News Talk 105.9 WMAL. Where we're making sense of the news. You can join us, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. We were just talking moments ago with Congressman Chip Roy. He's opposed to the good old-fashioned Washington can kick. We just saw the budget extended into January and February. Speaker Mike Johnson breaking it up, hoping to pass something that looks a little bit more normal than the freak shows we get each year, typically. Sam in Alexandria is calling in on that subject, line 1. Hello, Sam. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince. I tell you what, as so often happens when I listen to your show, my thoughts evolve.
Yes.
To some extent. Yes. And in this particular case, generally I remain on that what he did is correct in that we shouldn't draw the line in the sand right now. And it's only because everybody out here, holidays are coming up. You don't want to be goofing around with everything that goes on and the black mark on the holidays and be the Scrooge, i.e. Republican Party. But as Chip Roy said, absolutely after January, that flag has to be firmly planted in the ground, and that's it. And screw the
continuing resolutions.
All that, yes, all of that, and just stand firm, because your constituency who's going to vote in the primaries and do those kinds of things, they will understand. The people that won't understand are, of course, the people that are voting against you anyways. But this whole point of doing it right now, totally disagree. And the second thought, real quickly, he needs to have Chip Roy as his sergeant major, because
just to throttle people.
He has some. No, more so as a sounding board, because I like his attitude, I like his thought process, I like his emotion and his intellect that's combined with emotion, and I think he will keep them on a steady course. When you have naysayers like, they're like, oh, you better be careful. I don't know if I should do that. And it's the Chip Roys that say, heck no, dude, smoke some butt. Let's take it to the ground, take it to the mat, and win this thing, and just have that balance. You need this kind of a guy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and Chip's not insane. He's intense. That's what he is, and he knows his stuff, and he's recognizing the problems here, which are that the country is meaningfully poorer because of the actions of the government. You can't, the numbers here. It was our economist EJ Antoni was talking to Dan Bongino earlier today. Dan stealing my guests now. No, it was great. And EJ did a great job, and he was explaining that, we're talking the average American family losing $7,000 a year in purchasing power. $7,000 a year in purchasing power. How far would $7,000 go in your life? How far does that go? Doesn't go as far anymore. And so, if you're Chip Roy, if you're any of these members of Congress, but it's helpful to have Chip Roy around, right? Because the Chip Roys are the guys who are like, hey, dummies, You see what's happening over here? You see this whole country that we're supposed to be leading? It's going into the crapper. It's going downhill. It's because of us. So when we have these opportunities to fix things, let us take them. Let us take them. So good for him for putting the pressure on, and I hope these guys maintain that course. We'll see what that pressure looks like coming into the new year. But Speaker Johnson has to do something with this for real, like a real budget, and get everything in regular order, actually pass each of these budget bills and make the process transparent. Show us all the stuff, the garbage that needs to be ejected, that is ejected, and then come to us and then beg for our forgiveness, right? Just be like, I'm so sorry that we screwed this all up in the past. We'll be better from now on. On the expense side and on what E.J. Antoni's been assessing, you know that this is not going to come as a surprise to you. You know that Thanksgiving this year will be the most expensive turkey dinner that we've ever had. It'll be the most expensive. The average price American families are going to have to pay to celebrate Thanksgiving with a traditional dinner will be the most expensive in history. Thanks, Joe Biden. The price of all goods has risen dramatically under Biden following a period of sustained high inflation, which peaked at 9.1% in March of 2022 and has since remained elevated. I'm quoting from the Daily Caller here, measuring at 3.2% in October. That's the amount that money is becoming more expensive. That's the rate at which inflation is occurring, that prices are skyrocketing. While the index for food rose 3.3% year over year for the month. The total increase in cost for a Thanksgiving dinner is about 26% since the beginning of Biden's term, culminating in the most expensive Thanksgiving dinner in history. So something else to be thankful for. How did we even afford this meal? I'm thankful that we got this food on the table this year. So that's happening. And on that, one more data point on the economy. 14% of U.S. voters say that Biden has made them better off. Just 14%. Hunter Biden voted a lot in this survey. Nobody's better off. It's crazy. But 14% are saying they're better off financially now than when Biden took office. That's according to a poll just done by the Financial Times. The survey was conducted by the University of Michigan's Ross School of Business. It found that almost 70% of voters thought Biden's economic policies had either hurt the economy or had no impact, including 33% who said they believe the president's policies hurt the economy a lot. Only 26% said his policies had helped the economy, but only 14% said that it had made them personally better off. Only 14%. So yeah, that's things are not going well, and we need members of Congress. We need more Chip Roys to identify that particular problem. All right, let me move to a different member of Congress now, Rashida Tlaib, because we've got a report today out of the Fox News channel, specifically Peter Hasson over there and Joe Schaufstall. Peter Hasson, in case you hear the Hasson name come up every so often, the whole Hasson family are great American patriots. They're great conservatives, writers, and so they've got good stuff everywhere. So if you find a Hasson on Twitter, follow him, whoever it is. But Peter Hasson, great reporter who I worked with for years. And he's got a new exclusive, again, alongside Joe Schaufstall, who's writing here. Representative Rashida Tlaib is a part of a secret social media group in which its members have glamorized Hamas. I know, none of this is going to come as a surprise to you, but I'll just tell you what's actually happening. She's a part of a secret Facebook group where the membership glamorizes Hamas in its war with Israel after the terror group attacked and killed hundreds of innocent Israeli civilians last month, Fox News Digital has found. The Michigan Democrat is a member of the Palestinian American Congress group on Facebook. Palestinian American Congress, that's the name of the group. The group is hidden from non-members. It does not appear on the platform's search engine. Fox News Digital was able to gain access to it. They don't describe how. The group's founder, Maher Abdelkader, who has extensive ties to Tlaib and has also been linked to other liberal politicians, has come under fire in the past for his anti-Semitic social media posts, including questioning whether the Holocaust ever even occurred. This is who Tlaib is hanging out with. This guy. In fact, it was January 2018. This guy, Abdelkader, shared an anti-Semitic video that claimed Jews aren't actually Jewish, and they invented a historic claim to Israel, and they secretly control the media. This is Rashida Tlaib's buddy in the Facebook group. In this same 2018 video, it describes Jews as satanic, and it also questions whether 6 million Jews actually died in the Holocaust. The video's narrator says, quote, research the truth about the Holocaust. You'll definitely start to question what you thought you knew. Abdelkader shared the video both on his personal Facebook page and within the group that now includes Tlaib. So, your parents ever warn you about the types of people you hang out with? You ever get that speech? Or you know somebody who did? Your friends kind of say a lot about you. The Palestinian American Congress group, of which Tlaib is a member, has featured pro-Hamas posts in the wake of the deadly October 7th attack on Israel. On October 12th, one group member posted, quote, we don't want to throw you in the sea. We want you to ride it back from where you came. The message was accompanied by a picture of an elderly Israeli woman and a Hamas fighter holding her captive. They were sharing hostage photos. And this poor old woman. On October 19th, another group member wrote about the achievements of the resistance in northern occupied Palestine, including dozens of dead Israeli soldiers. The post included a picture of a Hamas fighter, a terrorist. And on and on. Since yesterday, I've been attached to the TV watching the news, one group member posted on October 10th, addressing the, quote, American media and saying, quote, you and the people directing you are the problem. You created it almost 100 years ago. She's referring to Israel. Made it official 75 years ago, and you've been feeding its flame ever since. All right, so this is Rashida Tlaib's secret Facebook group where they're all crapping on Israel all the time and singing the praises of Hamas. So that leads us to a congressional hearing today where Chris Wray, the FBI director, was testifying, and Alejandro Mayorkas, the DHS secretary. And Marjorie Taylor Greene has a chance to ask a question, so she decides to ask about her colleague who's a part of the anti-Semitic Facebook group. Here we go.
Mr. Wray, are you interested in members of Congress that are organized and participating in a Facebook group that has ties to Hamas?
We're not investigating people for participating in a Facebook group.
A Facebook group that is tied to...
Do you think that's true, by the way? I think he lied under oath. Any Facebook groups that involve January 6th suspects? Because the way he answered that question suggests that we would never investigate people for their involvement in a Facebook group.
Us?
We're not investigating people for participating in a Facebook group.
A Facebook group that is tied to Hamas?
We have multiple investigations into individuals affiliated with Hamas, and they're active investigations.
You're going to tell me as FBI director you will not investigate Americans or United States members of Congress that are linked to known terrorists?
That's not what I said.
Are you going to investigate or not?
We are going to investigate individuals who are affiliated with Hamas if they meet our standards for predication.
No. No is the answer. You could just say no. Of course, we're not investigating Rashida Tlaib. Not even for the stuff where she incites an insurrection. She just did it a couple weeks ago. She got a mob to raid the Cannon House office building and overtake the whole rotunda of it, and the cops had to intervene and gently escort people out of the building, even though they were defacing Congress. What date did that occur on? Do you remember the day of the actual calendar date that occurred? Do you remember it? Yeah, neither do I. I don't actually remember. I don't remember what the calendar date of that was. It was, what was it, October? I forget. Now I'm forgetting the dates. It must have been October. It was October something. We need to launch a committee, the October something committee, immediately. And show footage of Rashida Tlaib and haul her in front of Congress and demand her testimony and then recommend she be arrested. And we'll get Marjorie Taylor Greene up there and say, we got to get the FBI on her. On and on. So she's actual member of Congress. She's like a real deal member of Congress. She hates America. She hates Israel. She hates Jewish people. She's unstoppable. She just keeps going and nobody ever holds her accountable. They can barely summon a censure of this chick. It's like pulling teeth to get people to criticize her. Hey, here's an easy one. Rashida Tlaib. No, I'm not going to criticize her. Okay, George Santos. Oh, yeah, I've got a lot to say about that guy. George Santos. He lies about everything. Yeah, he does. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure he's wrecking the country. I'm not sure he's, out there rooting on terrorist organizations. I haven't seen that yet. Rashida Tlaib does that. Can you spare a few words for her? No, nothing. Don't have anything to say about that. So that's a little crazy. That's actually really insane. Speaking of really insane, we played some audio for you yesterday of Nikki Haley, a presidential candidate for the Republican Party, who said yesterday on Fox that should she become president, she would banish anonymous speech on the internet. You wouldn't be allowed to communicate with a pseudonym. Here's a reminder of what that sounded like.
When I get into office, the first thing we have to do, social media accounts, social media companies, they have to show America their algorithms. Let us see why they're pushing what they're pushing. The second thing is every person on social media should be verified by their name. That's, first of all, it's a national security threat. When you do that, all of a sudden people have to stand by what they say, and it gets rid of the Russian bots, the Iranian bots, and the Chinese bots.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's up to Nikki Haley. We wouldn't have the Federalist Papers based on that logic. So more in a moment, because Nikki Haley is now trying to clean up a little bit, clean up on aisle free speech. She's trying that right now, and we'll let you grade her coming up. So the Fox News Channel is not the only place where Nikki Haley expressed this sentiment. She also went on a podcast called Ruthless. One of the hosts has a pseudonym. He goes by Comfortably Smug. And so this came up during their conversation.
They need to verify every single person on their outlet and I want it by name. Because when
what about Smug? Does he qualify?
I've provided them with my government.
If Smug is on your driver's license, then, and look, you can put Smug in parentheses, but I want everybody's name.
It's crazy. All right, so here's Nikki Haley on CNBC's Squawk Box this morning trying to clean things up, I guess.
We need our social media companies to verify everybody so that we can get all of those.
So you're not really
out.
saying that people can't tweet I mean, but that's bad enough, because you see what it's doing to our kids and bullying and everything else.
Do I think life would be more civil if we were able to do that? Yes. It's the same reason why I think doxing, like, you know, you should stand by what you say. But no, like, if you can have anonymous, I don't mind anonymous American people having free speech. Okay. What I don't like is anonymous Russians and Chinese and Iranians having free speech.
You know what happens with all of this, though. We develop these tools to target foreigners, and then Americans, of course, get targeted. So we've been through this before. Thanks, but no thanks, lady. That's good. We're good. We're good. The anonymous accounts, you know, they suck. It does suck to have people be anonymous and take cheap shots, but, you know, let's side with free speech in these equations. Now, one other piece for you. Apparently on that same podcast I was playing for you, Ruthless, Nikki Haley said that Vivek Ramaswamy is probably a sexist. That's why he's picking on her.
What happens? He comes out of the gate. He hits the female chair of the party. He hits the female anchor on the platform, and then he hits me. And I'm not saying anything.
I ain't saying, I'm just saying.
But he might have a girl problem. I'm just saying he might.
He's a sexist here. And Vivek has responded to this today. He writes, "Sorry, Nikki, having two X chromosomes doesn't immunize you, Ronna McDaniel, or Kristen Welker from criticism. I don't think Kamala Harris is going to run, so there might be an opening for you in the party of identity politics." He writes, does Nikki Haley drop out by the end of this week? This is one of the most spectacular flameouts in under 48 hours I've seen in a while. Tim Scott did drop out earlier this week, and he ran an honorable campaign. This thing with Nikki Haley? Not so much. The great one, Mark Levin, is up next here on the legendary WMAL.